If you're a private practice leader that is hearing about Google's new AI mode and you're unsure what it means for you, your practice, and attracting future patients, then this video is for you. It's practical, it's tactical, it's example-rich walkthroughs of what practices websites need to achieve right now in 2025 and beyond to be recommended by AI and dominate in this new world of search. So first, let's talk about what has happened. And as of May 20th, 2025, Google introduced AI mode and immediately rolled it out in the US. Now, why have they done this? Well, effectively, this is a counterpunch to ChatGPT entering the market initially in 2022, being this kind of fun novelty way to write poems at speed, to now launching search in end of October 2024 and taking market share from Google, to see Google's market share drop below 90% for the first time in a very, very long time. With people now moving towards an AI search way of life. I use it as my default browser, for example, right now, and I know many, many, many others do, far more than I believe the data that we hear from a percentage-wise is probably telling us. We're seeing a more interactive, easier way to search the internet, find information, ask questions, and almost a sparring partner of somebody that understands your preferences, who can make a recommendation for you. Example being, if ChatGPT knows I'm a vegan and I'm looking for local restaurants, it's going to do the due diligence to only recommend restaurants that would deliver vegan options for me, hypothetically. And Google naturally have seen what's gone on, and we've been waiting for them to reveal their cards from an AI perspective. And we knew AI mode was being tested in labs, but last week they surprised many people by launching this sooner than many people expected and introducing AI mode. And essentially, as you can see here, it sits as an alternative way to search. Nobody can opt out of this. Right now, this is one of the two options of search the traditional way, where you search something and it will give you a number of listings to go into websites and find information from, or use AI, where you can ask it, it will then do due diligence and research for you and make a recommendation, whether that is answering a question, helping from a shopping perspective if you're looking for something, or recommending a local business for you to work with. The big shift in this is traditionally the game was you ask a question, it would give you multiple listings for you to find the right person for you. What we're seeing now with these AI answers is it is making a recommendation. It's not saying here's a list of 10, go and find one. It's based on you and what you've asked and what you've discussed and your preferences, Mr. or Mrs. User. Here's the recommendation. So the game is now changed, because previously it was be within the many, many recommendations to be that number one recommendation, because it is going to be the one that's recommended often is going to go on to dominate. Dare I say, the ones who are not recommended, not in that top one, are going to find it more and more difficult to get patients through traditional online search, because online search is going through significant change where traditional is losing relevance, and it is the start of the end of traditional search. What we are going to see is AI search will be the fundamental way that the majority of people use Google at one point in the future, and the majority of people search the web to find, make decisions, find local businesses, etc. So what do you need to do in order to win from an AI search perspective? What is the thing that you need to do from a website perspective right now? And I'll share some very practical examples here. And in fact, let's jump in a few websites here that I think will help with this, because fundamentally, these three things that your website needs to do, especially in the world of private practice, in order to win this battle, be that recommended one. Number one is specificity. The days of saying you are for everyone and anybody that's got a hearing loss within this geographical area, we can help. That is becoming more and more difficult. Google are building profiles on people based on the questions, based on their preferences, based on what they're searching and asking, and looking to matchmake them with the right practices that meet their specific needs. You say you're for everyone, then it's very difficult for them to match people to you unless the person they're trying to match is so bland and vanilla that they don't really have any form of preferences for how they like to buy, how they like to choose, how they like to be treated. So the more specificity you can have that we help these types of people to achieve these outcomes, the more it's going to lean into you being the most recommended. Now, of course, if your specificity is so niche that you're looking for a needle in a haystack of patients who are exactly 62 that are still working, that are corporate CEOs, and you're based in an area where there isn't a lot of big corporations, then a lot more difficult. But if your specificity is people that really value high levels of hearing healthcare, or specificity on premium service, or specificity that it's a tinnitus related challenge that they may be experiencing, then that is where I'd be doubling down and leaning into. And we look at this for an example right now from a specificity perspective. Like, what does this do a wonderful job with? Well, it's very clear that what they do is help local families to stay connected. Like, they're very, very clear that we are for families, like families that are concerned, families that want connection. If you're concerned about mum or dad, if you're concerned about grandma and grandpa, like, this is a brand that resonates with somebody who's doing their due diligence and research online, whether for themselves or for family members, for loved ones. Then what does this say? Well, if you care about communications with the people that matter, then this is a practice that's recommended for you. So specificity is really, really key from that perspective. What else is key? The next thing that's key is why you. And what I mean by this is, if you're very, very clear that these are the specific patients who we're right for, then why are you the logical option for them over all other options available? And this is where you telling the story, you proving you are who you say you are, is so key, in being able to articulate with as much strength as possible. And let's look at this practice. Now, these do a wonderful job with this, right? Of course, they've got specificity. This is for people that want expert hearing doctors. They want exceptional care. They want trusted care. But how do they go, okay, well, why us? Well, even through the photography, the feel. Like, if somebody wants that, then what are they looking to see? They're looking for somebody that shows that they can do that and tell a story, that we're the logical option for people that want that. And if somebody's looking for expert hearing doctors, what are we seeing? We're seeing this exceptional care. We're seeing 1,000+ happy patients. We're seeing that we're trusted by many, many local organizations. We're seeing we've got a breadth of different services. We're seeing a personal message from the founder that talks about the challenge, that there's vast difference. Although there's plenty of places to get a hearing tested in today's world. You can do it online, local big box, or even in some retail spaces. But in the same way you wouldn't trust the internet to self-prescribe a medication, or a retail employee to diagnose a health challenge, it's never been important to make the right decision for your long-term hearing health. So very much taught to that story with as much of the why them built in, and even through to the our story and the why us, like 14 big reasons to choose them that make a big case of evidence and allow them to articulate that why you very, very effectively. And what's the third component? So we've got specificity. You've got to be clear on the why you. The third one, which I believe is the biggest one, is trust. Now, trust is at an all-time low. Like, that's commonly known. We see more and more studies come out that show that consumers just don't trust what businesses say. And what we're seeing now with AI creating more and more video and imagery that is clearly not the truth, and you being able to prompt something that looks incredibly realistic, trust is going to plummet even further. Like, you need to do a wonderful job of providing evidence. And look at it this way. If you had to stand in front of a court of law and provide the evidence that you are trusted, and you can back up every single statement on your website, and you've got an evidence set to prove that you've helped the types of people that you want to help to achieve the outcomes they're looking for with a track record and success, then you are in a very, very strong position. And I'll take you to this practice. Like, once again, they've got specificity on their who. They want people who want the highest levels of hearing healthcare, and they very much lean into that. They tell the story of why them in a very, very strong way. But what about proof? What about evidence? Well, look, the fact they featured in the Washington Post, in a Mr. Beast video on Fox News, that helps a lot. Well, what else do they do from a trust perspective? Well, they've documented hearing health journeys. They're showing patients that meet the similar type of characteristics of the patients they want to attract, telling the story of how they had a hearing challenge, they were concerned for these reasons, they were looking for somebody like this practice, and this practice helped them to achieve the outcomes that they're looking for. Like, they do a wonderful job with that. What else is trust towards those patients? Well, okay, we do functional hearing evaluations. Okay, well, what does that mean? Well, let's take you through the 20-step process. Not the 3 steps, not the 4 steps, almost an obnoxious level of detail of how they go significantly beyond what anybody else offers, which gives trust and evidence both to the AI, to the person visiting the website, that if they want the best of the best, then it's difficult to look past these as an option and look at anything else on the market. So like all of these tie in together: specificity, the story of how do we articulate that we're the logical option for that individual patient, and how do we prove we are who we say we are. Like, you've got to choose your who and start with who. You need to look like the practice you need to become, and then you need to build a never-ending body of evidence. You do those three things correctly in this AI world, and you're going to play to what that's looking for. Have a bland, generic website that doesn't really help people understand who you are, why they should choose you. It's just more a, here's a bit of information about what we do. Then that gap's going to become very, very big between the AI recommended business and yours. So this is a time where the next 90 to 180 days is very, very key for how businesses, practices navigate this change in order to ensure that if they're not in the top one, then they're making another way they're going to win opportunities right now. But if you can do these three things correctly, get very clear on your who, look like the practice you want to become by being able to articulate why that type of patient should choose you over all other options available, and then build a never-ending body of evidence, a big case of trust, and very much look at trust being fundamental through the imagery on your website, through to the interactions that people have, through to the reviews collected with the depth behind them, to the case studies, then you're going to be in a significantly better position to win through all of this change. And whether it's ChatGPT or Google AI mode, you need to win that battle. And winning the battle comes down to proving you are the obvious choice, not by trying to manipulate the game in order to get people to see you ahead of others. So this is the game, my friends. This is how the significant change that is going on right now is occurring, and we're probably not going to see the full force of this for a number of months. This is going to be, I believe, a 2026. This becomes a little more commonplace in the market, and people start to use AI mode more prominently than traditional search. But right now, this is the opportunity to get ahead of it, because as an industry, private practice, we've got away with being good enough for long enough. And right now, the strive for excellence and the market share that is up for grabs for the practices that take these moves is going to be pretty substantial. So hopefully that's helpful. Hopefully a few practical examples give a little bit of context and depth behind how you can practically achieve a few of these things. And as always, if you've got any questions for me, if I can help in any way, or similarly, if you're looking at this and you're like, can you just help us to win this battle? Then that's exactly what we do. So hopefully this was helpful. Looking forward to hearing from you if you reach out. And similarly, if this has been helpful, drop a comment, drop a like, drop a subscribe, and I will speak to you very, very soon.